representative of the youth of Taos Pueblo and testified before the Senate Indian Affairs Committee for the return of Blue Lake. On that very memorable day, I witnessed an event that was to be the beginning, the birth of a major federal policy for American Indians. The cornerstone of that policy is a return of Blue Lake and surrounding lands to Taos Pueblo. These were lands that had been taken away from us by the federal government in 1906. Countless governors, war chiefs, councilmen, and our people struggled for some 64 years to have these lands returned. I have fond memories and recollections of that meeting with President Nixon. I am the only living member of that Taos Pueblo delegation. I have some of the descendants of the delegation that was there on that day in a meeting with the president. I remember President Nixon's words as he told us he would endorse legislation that would return Blue Lake to us and sign the legislation when it came on his desk. He said it would be a tangible example of his intentions through the new policy for American Indians. Indeed, on December the 15th, 1970, President Nixon signed the Blue Lake legislation into law as Public Law 91-550. I have vivid memories of the meeting with President Nixon that I would like to share. Number one, I felt the power of the presidency when President Nixon walked into the meeting room. I felt that. I also felt a genuine cordiality with which he received our delegation. I felt the sincerity of President Nixon's words as he expressed his personal feelings about American Indian people and how they have been treated over the years, and his personal intentions to do what he could, whenever he could, to make up for that treatment. I sensed his strong determination of implementing a policy that he believed in. I felt the reality of his words when he promised to sign the Blue Lake bill when it got to his desk. Indeed, he carried out that promise on December 15, 1970. We had a great victory celebration in August of 1971 for the return of Blue Lake. And we have had commemoration events every 20 years with the 40th year anniversary in 2010. At each of these victory and commemoration events, President Nixon is prominently recognized as the president who officially enabled the return of sacred lands to Taos Pueblo. That return includes the mountain, Mount Hualuna, the mountain that you see over here. Invitations to participate were sent to President Nixon and since his death to his family. We have had members of his former staff participate in these events, such as Bobby Kilberg and Brad Patterson. President Nixon's Indian policy continues to live, evolve, and grow from the basic premise of self-determination that he proclaimed on July the 8th, 1970. Taos Pueblo and many other tribes continue to benefit from that policy. Taos Pueblo is proud that we were there at the inception of that policy and that the return of Blue Lake is the cornerstone of that policy. There are photographs of two United States presidents that you may find in Taos Pueblo homes. One of those is of President Nixon. The other one is Abraham Lincoln. We have a committee, a commemoration committee, and we would be pleased to work with the President Nixon Foundation to display the Nixon Museum, the Blue Lake story, and President Nixon's role in that story. This evening, we do have an exhibit in the tent behind the speaker stand. We would like to invite the Nixon Foundation members and others to view that exhibit that we have there. It's just an example of how the Taos Pueblo people feel about President Nixon and the very important role that he played for our people. And I thank you very much for being here with us tonight. And all of you people here, we'd like to thank you. This is a very important story for Taos Pueblo and for all Indian people. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Councilman Suazo. Right now, our next speaker, I am very happy to introduce. His name is Adonis Trujillo. He is a Taos Pueblo community member. He is attending Fort Lewis College, and he is a Taos Pueblo tour guide. So with no further ado, Mr. Adonis Trujillo.
Domina, Mr. Nixon, all our elders, everybody here, I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of myself and on behalf of everybody here at Taos Pueblo. As was mentioned, my name is Adonis Trujillo, and my parents are Yvonne and Arsenio Trujillo. And it is with great honor that I have the opportunity to speak on behalf of Taos Pueblo, Taos Pueblo people, about this very, very important event for us today. I'm here tonight to talk about our tribal history, specifically about the Blue Lake history, our fight to regain our sacred land, and what impact former President Nixon had on our tribes and all tribes across the country, and last, what self-determination means for Native tribes. We refer to ourselves as Tuota Bainam. That means Taos Pueblo people. We are home of the Red Willow people here, and we have lived in this area for time immemorial. Our mountains and the areas surrounding this place here have taken care of us. They've nourished us. They provided spirituality and everything necessary for our people to survive for many generations. The area around our village and the mountains, they are abound with sacred shrines and special places. Blue Lake is in our mountains above our village. This is the source of the waters that flow through the center of our village, and is a sacred place of prayer and worship for our people. Blue Lake is the spiritual dwelling place of our ancestors, and is a key point of our culture and our traditions. But in 1906, with the stroke of a pen, Blue Lake and the rest of our mountain areas were taken away from us by President Theodore Roosevelt, and they were all made part of the Kit Carson National Forest. Now the issue with having our mountain areas as a national forest was anybody was allowed to camp in these areas. And people who were camping up there, they did not have the same respect for our sacred areas as we had, and so they were leaving their trash, they were leaving their waste. The potable water that we have, the life source that runs through the middle of our village, it was being threatened. And last, since it was a part of the national land, in order to have ceremonies in our mountains, we did have to acquire a permit from the government first before entering our own backyard. This would be the same as acquiring a permit to enter a church and perform those sacred rituals. So, even though we had, well, despite not having a good command over the English language, or I guess a good understanding of the United States government system, our people did fight for 64 long years to acquire all of our lands back. And it wasn't just the people of Taos Pueblo, it was people from other areas as well. They saw the injustice that was going on and they helped us with our fight to regain our lands. And thankfully, in 1970, justice was won. Blue Lake and the rest of our surrounding mountain areas, they were returned to the Taos Pueblo people by the United States Congress and the President of the United States, Richard M. Nixon. Ironically, it was proven that the conservative agenda of the Republican Party tended to overlook the needs of the American Indians, especially during the mid-20th century. But thankfully, it was the Nixon administration that would bring much needed change to our Indian country. In 1954, Congress adopted Resolution 108, which was a move to terminate and do away with all Indian reservations and in many cases give jurisdiction over Indian affairs to the states which they resided in. On July 8, however, 1970, President Nixon formally shut down the termination policy with a special message to Congress advocating for the American Indian. He said, self-determination, without the threat of eventual termination, assuring that the Indian assumed control over his own life without being separated involuntarily from their tribal group. During Nixon's presidency, a number of great strides were made in the federal Indian policy, such as the return of our sacred Blue Lake in 1970. The Bureau of Indian Affairs budget was increased by more than 214% to a total of $1.2 billion. The establishment of the first Special Office of Indian Water Rights, a bill authorizing the Secretary of Agriculture to make direct and insured loans to Indian tribes through the Farmers Home Administration. The passage of Indian Financing Act of 1974, which supported tribal commercial development. And he pledged that all available BIA funds be arranged to fit priorities set by tribal governments themselves. And many more things on top of this. President Nixon also helped set or lay the groundwork for the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act. And in 1975, Congress passed this. This was perhaps the most significant piece of legislation for Native American rights since the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934. The Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act was set up to protect the tribes by allowing them to self-rule, to govern themselves the way they are, cultural survival, economic development, and full participation in the writing of policies which affect our people directly. Because of his heroic action of the signing of the Blue Lake Bill and all the other things that he accomplished, the late President Nixon has a special place in the hearts of the people of Taos Pueblo. Thanks to all of the things that Nixon accomplished, I am now able to learn all of our ceremonies and pass them down to future generations, to my kids and my grandchildren. And so I would like to thank all of our elders who helped fight for our land, and all of the other people as well to help ensure that all the land was returned to Taos Pueblo so that our ceremonies can continue and our culture can live for generations to come. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Adonis. Thank you. That was a very wonderful and moving speech. Right now, we are going to move into the presentation of the plaque to Mr. Nixon and his constituents. So if you'd like to come over here. First, I would like to acknowledge any council members, councilmen that are here tonight. If we could give them a round of applause as well, because without them, a lot of our ways could not be continued. Also, I'd like to acknowledge right now our Taos Pueblo tribal government, our Governor Ernesto Lujan, Lieutenant Governor Curtis Sandoval, and Head Fiscali, Mr. Martinez, and their staff. Along with tribal government is our War Chief, Mr. Samuel Gomez, Lieutenant War Chief, Mr. Matthew Montoya, and their staff as well. And with that, we present to you the plaque. Governor, if you'd like to do the honors to read the plaque.
First of all, I would like to thank really to Charles Anxiety. This is coming from my heart. Your dad is so much Taos Pueblo. Not only to Taos Pueblo, but to Indians throughout the United States. It opened the door for all of us here on this earth as Indian people, the self-determination that was mentioned by the young man here, Mr. Trujillo. Also, the self-governance compacts, they're all over the United States. That really opened the door for all of us, and I really appreciate that. And I will read the flag. This flag presented to the Richardson Nixon Foundation to commemorate the President of the President Richard Nixon in recognition of the Taos Pueblo sacred places of worship and his role in the return of the Taos Pueblo Blue Lake and the surrounding wilderness area. His recognition and support of the Taos Pueblo effort to reclaim its sacred places resulted in a national movement of self-determination that continues to this day across the Indian country. With this in mind, and with the utmost gratitude, Taos Pueblo present this flag to Richard Nixon Foundation with honor and respect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I've witnessed tonight a special rhythm in this sacred place. And I realize at my age I couldn't do that for anything, but I certainly admire the beauty, the sound, and the meaning for all these people for such a sacred event. I really appreciate the honor that you bestowed on the Nixon Foundation and Nixon family, especially my brother. But I'm just a kid brother, 17 years younger, and I'm still here. So it's my job to accept this with great thanks and appreciation. Thank you very much. I wish most of the story that I was going to read to you here has already been told, and I think most of you already know it. But there's a little more I can add. The Nixon family, my brother and four of us, or five of us all growing up, were exposed to parents who insisted on showing respect to all people, regardless, whatever they were. They're humans, they deserve respect, and prejudice has no place. And thank God we have freedom of religion in this country, and we need to honor it. So I want you to carry on, all you peoples who've been here lots longer than us latecomers, and keep up the spirit. I promise you, as much as I can do, as a senior member of the board of the Nixon Foundation, we will see more exposure at the Nixon Library and Museum the next time you come to visit. And if you've not been there, please do plan to come back and see it, because there is a lot of meaning there for everybody, everywhere. Thank you very much for this honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's one more gift that we need to give you so you can remember it. It's a drum. And also I'd like to recognize Gilbert Suazo, the councilman, with his good words and experience, his dedication to his work, and also giving good word in behalf of Taos Pueblo. And also Mr. Trujillo. Mr. Trujillo is the grandson of our holy man, Paul Martinez, and I recognize him too. Thank you very much. You can use it for a coffee table. Sing some songs, learn some songs from here, go home and...
I'm going to have some good teachers from this place. First I have to find the stamina to do that kind of thing. And a little more youth. I think that comes as you look around and just think young, right? Anyway, thank you very much. This is beautiful. This is to go to the library, museum. Is that right? Or does it stay here? So when we come back, we have to bring the drum and join in the crowd, right? You have to teach me a lot of steps. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody.